For the past 2 seasons, I've been using these as my kind of main pant. And if you couldn't tell, these are the Patagonia Dual Aspect Bibs. I've done a video on these before, but that video was kind of more of my kind of first impression of the bibs. I really only had just a limited time to use them, but it was kind of enough to formulate somewhat of an opinion. But now after 2 seasons, I've definitely got a better feeling and opinion for this piece. So with that being said, let's just get right into it. For starters, if you don't know, the Dual Aspect was kind of this spiritual successor to the galvanized material. It has some stretch into it, but has some key differences. A big difference was that it kind of moved away from this soft shell like material to more of like your slick, like nylon shell that you get with a lot of shells. And that transition has been pretty good. I definitely know that the fabric is not as stretchy, but it performs a little bit better and it's not as heavy. So that's been really nice. The other big difference with this is that the Dual Aspect series kind of made headlines for being Patagonia's like first fully PFC free shell. And I could go into PFCs in a whole another video because they are going to be more of an important thing coming up. To just break it down real quick and simple, PFCs are basically, it's a chemical that is used with a lot of waterproofing. Like think of your other shells from other brands and maybe some stuff with Gore-Tex. And PFCs were kind of this way to make waterproofing happen. But what they found that over time with use of the shells, as the shells get like wet and soaked, the water can actually like pull away some of these chemicals coming from they basically pull away PFCs, and they kind of just go off your jacket and they go into the environment. And the biggest problem with this is that PFCs don't break down, and so you're basically, in ways, you're like micro polluting the environment, whether it's being water sources or soil. And so now over time, you can start to see that there's a trace of these PFCs in, like I said, the water systems or soil. So it's a bigger problem that will need to be addressed. And this was kind of Patagonia's address to that problem, is by making a product that is fully PFC free. And a lot of times when people hear PFC free, there is this kind of stigma that it's not going to perform as well, that it's going to have some shortcomings. But I can confidently say that after 2 seasons of use, the Dual Aspect has been top notch. I've been on a lot of wet climbs with it, and even a lot of the climbs this season, there's been just full on open water, and I'm being soaked, but the pants do a great job. So that has been super awesome to see, that the performance of these pants has not had like any decline over 2 seasons, but it's still held up just as good as any PFC waterproofing. So that's really awesome that the Dual Aspect was able to accomplish this and accomplish this so well. And I really do speak highly of it, that its performance level is top notch, because you're dealing with a 3-layer construction that is PFC free, but you're also dealing with a DWR that's PFC free, and it's been super great. After still 2 seasons of use, the water keeps on beating up on the material, so the DWR is still performing at a very high level. And I haven't really done anything to make this DWR live longer. I haven't taken the time to wash the pants and rejuvenate the DWR. I haven't put any solutions on it. This is still just like factory DWR, and it's working at such a high level still. So cannot speak highly enough about what Patagonia has done with the fabric and the material, and how they just really did knock it out of the park for kind of their go around to making a standalone 2 pieces, because they also have the jacket and the bibs. But overall, the fabric has been performing great. And kind of speaking with how the fabric has been performing, these bibs have very smartly designed gussets, especially right here. It's the gusset that they have it's a different type of gusset. Normally gussets are like within a V, and that gives you greater mobility. whereas this one goes for a different style. It's like squared up, but it goes longer. But that works really well with the fabric because the fabric itself has a little bit of stretch. You can kind of see there's a little bit of give, but it's not much. It's not much as the galvanized, but it is some. And that's helpful because if you can start to gusset things correctly and, you know, place things out correctly, you won't really be needing that super stretchy material, because if everything is cut perfectly, you shouldn't have a problem. And that's what they really found, that I found that they did with the dual aspect bibs, is that they're really cut really well. You don't have any restriction. They just perform really good. On the flip side though, I do have a gripe with these. And as much as I was saying that I like how they're cut, there's one cut that I still don't like, and it's dealing with the fabric below the knee. So as you can see, there is a zipper right here and a button. So this opens up wider so you can use it with like a ski touring boot if you want to just use these pants for skiing or backcountry skiing, or if you want to use a ski touring system to get into, use that as the approach to an ice climb. So they built these pants to be able to accommodate a ski touring boot. So, but that comes out as a problem because ski touring boots are they're big and they're bulky, whereas modern day mountaineering boots are not. And what I've kind of found is that even at its tightest setting, which is right here with the second button, I still have a lot of movement within the pant. It's not sealed, which it doesn't need to be sealed, but what you start getting into is you have excess fabric below the knee. And this is a bigger problem when you're using crampons. I mean, you're having sharp objects on your feet and you have all this loose fabric below your knee. And it's the one spot that I still have not fully understood why. I mean, I understand why, obviously, because they're using ski touring boots, but I don't know why they would have prioritized that a little bit more. Just because, I mean, if these are still viewed as their premier alpine and ice climbing pant, I don't know why they would have put more focus into the mountaineering boot, because I've snagged these a couple times. I've nicked them with my crampons, luckily on the crampon patch, but as you can kind of see right here, I do have a patch right here, and this was just due to excess fabric right below the knee. That's just right below the knee, and it got caught on something during the climb, and it just moving up, it just gave way, it punctured through, and I knew immediately that I was like, dang it, like that's right where all that excess fabric is. And it's kind of weird because the whole piece itself is not very baggy. It's pretty tight in the legs and it's pretty tight towards the waist. It's a very like slim fitting kind of fit. I don't know if it is a slim fit or a regular fit, but it's very form fitting, but then you get just right below the knee and it's just like bell bottoms. So that can cause a lot of issues down the road. It's like a bigger durability issue and longevity issue, because if you have all this excess fabric, it's pretty much guaranteed that you will at some time snag it. So that I do have a grievance with kind of the cut. My other kind of grievances I'll go over just real quick. Back dealing with the leg, it's not necessarily, I've already gone over the leg itself, but it's the buttons. These buttons have been some of the worst buttons I've ever used. And that's kind of saying something somewhat. I mean, they're just so bad to use. And I don't know if it's just because they're so low profile and low volume, but every time I've been out and I don't button my things like before I leave or before I leave the vehicle to start the approach to the climb, like I will never get them done in the field. I've had so many times I've worn gloves and I just cannot get the button to snap, where I had to take off my gloves, and then that's a whole fiasco. Sometimes your hands get cold pretty quick. So that's been super irritating to deal with. And these buttons they're at the bottom at the cuffs, but they're also at the top right here where the zipper kind of goes up to the suspender straps. And I can't even get these anymore. They're in a weird spot too because of where the suspender straps are. They're like right here. So they're kind of hard to snap. And half the time now this season, I haven't even snapped them because I just don't want to deal with them. So the buttons are kind of a bigger grievance with me. They're a pain in the butt. And I think I mentioned it in my first video that I did on the dual aspect. It still bugs the crap out of me. And kind of going along with just that button upper area, the one continuous piece of the suspender strap, while it's a really cool idea, it does making getting into them a little bit difficult. I know at my height, I'm just at 6 foot. I have to bend almost completely over just to slip through the suspenders. So that's kind of it's not ideal, especially not ideal if you're trying to get changed in the car. So that kind of sucks and I don't recommend it. So the one piece, continuous piece design is kind of a pain, but at the same time, it's pretty cool. So it's neither like a really great thing nor a bad thing in my opinion. It's just meh. And probably the final weird gripe that I have with the Dual Aspect is the zipper. This zipper is kind of weird because it's offset, and that offset zipper is interesting when you pair it with something like the Capling Air bottoms. If you don't know, the Capling Air bottoms don't have like a fly or anything, so you have to pull them down. And when you have a side zipper that's not in a great direction, it makes going to the bathroom interesting. So that's just kind of a weird gripe. I'm pretty sure with a lot of other like long underwear, it's not a huge problem, but it's just kind of weird to know that Patagonia's with their own Capling Air bottoms paired with these, it's not a great time. So those are kind of my little quirks that I find that are still kind of a pain in the butt, but they're still they're livable still. I mean, all of these features, if I didn't like them, if I had a big problem with them, I wouldn't be using the pant. And I've used these bibs way more this season than I did last season. I would probably spend half the time last season within these and then within soft shell pants. I think I've only been in soft shell pants, I think twice this season, and I've been using these a lot. So really, there's just a couple design things that are kind of weird and kind of funky, but overall, I think, having the Dual Aspects fabric and performance at such a high level really shows that what the pants are made of and what they can handle. And it just being able to handle that thing, it speaks to itself of why they are a really good like ice climbing and alpine climbing pant, and why I'll still continue to use them. Like, of course, I'll have these things that irritate me, but overall, the pants performance is kind of unrivaled for a lot of things. And yeah, it's definitely what keeps me using them. So yeah, so that's been kind of like a 2-season review of the Dual Aspect. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you found it informative, and I will see you guys in the next one.